Look out. There are times when the best laid plans fail. In my own life, they have tended to catastrophically fail most of the time. When I tell people I defy the odds, I'm not lying. I'm just neglecting to tell them that I'm so unfortunate I could probably make a fortune as a casino's cooler. My bad luck is infectious, but hey, I'm so rarely around other people that it tends not to get spread around all that much. Mercifully, if some little tendril of it escapes, it's mostly trivial stuff. Drop your keys, bump your head, have both toilets in your house suddenly backflow until raw sewage is belched out of them. Just, trivial stuff. Given my prior form, I often found employment a challenge. As a teenager, I worked for a well-known fast food chain. I lasted a fortnight until a minor fire incident resulted in my moving on. Through college, there were minor jobs here and there, usually one so brief that I didn't get too much of a chance to fuck up, which was quite soothing in some respects, but not making new friends, that part I didn't enjoy. I was going through life as just a passenger. I felt like I was one of those towns people drive through but never actually stop at. Although, instead of being really fucking boring without even a local Tesco, I just wasn't around long enough to really get noticed by, well, anyone. After university, which I stumbled through with a degree of success, I decided I wanted to build something new, fresh, and permanent for myself. I was eager for stability, and so I went in search of a career. Initially, I'd had fantasies of working for a publisher, maybe someone like Hachette or, Penguin. Sadly, a mixture of not knowing the right people and interviewing badly kind of obscured that idea. Speaking of my love of boobs and not books, in one particular application actually resulted in a terse letter in which I was called a pervert. The accuracy aside, they had no idea that I was, so it felt rather hurtful. With a string of failures, I did what anyone would do. Due in part to no longer being able to even afford generic potato waffles and Tesco value beans, I got desperate. My finances were a thing of fiction. I was about to be kicked out of my flat too. When you can't even afford a rat-infested shithole, you know you have to make a change. So, I drove the 100 miles or so back to Leeds and moved in with my parents. Luckily for them and for me, my crappy luck had only burdened them once when it had forced my mother to endure almost 48 hours of labour. Beyond that, they seemed relatively unscathed, apart from my presence perhaps. So, from their home, my old bedroom, I started to freelance as a copywriter. Sure, I never made enough for that private jet, but work trickled in on a fairly regular basis. I managed to build up some savings, and I seemed to be lucky enough to not annoy anyone in the process. I did the work diligently for almost 5 years. But then, I had a bit of a revelation. I mean, an obvious one to the normal amongst you, but I wasn't, nor am I even now, a particularly normal person. I do pride myself on admitting that, though. Nonetheless, I'd spent 5 years doing the work, and the only people I was infrequently mixing with were my parents, both of whom were in their 60s and probably sick of the sight of me. I was making money to sustain a life that had made me miserable, and it wasn't that cheesed off, oh shit, it's hump day kind of miserable. It was that profoundly deep, alienating sadness that made me feel entirely alone in the world. A lot of it had to do with the fact that I virtually was. God knew I hadn't had a girlfriend in the entire time. My few forays into that arena during university had been such terrifyingly terrible failures, I decided I just needed some time to get brave again. But I'd certainly remained a coward. I knew right then that things had to change. I couldn't keep repeating the same old routines and mourning over my bad luck and past mistakes. I was going to launch myself back into the world, even if my quivering stomach argued a good case for just sitting on the toilet for several months. Thus, I began a search for work in a new city. My writing had, fortuitously, opened some doors to me. It seemed advertising companies were quite fond of my ability to seem rather glib and skirt around the bounds of good taste and honesty. If you've ever worked in the marketing world, you'll know how much they adore bullshit. Like mounds of the stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, I started working at a small but reasonably well-respected firm called Cooper and Sons, although there wasn't a Cooper nor any Sons. My boss, Andy Carmack, just thought it sounded professional when he started the business. He picked a name at random from a phone book that still existed back then, proving he was too lazy to even get past the letter C. Andy was a sod for leaving the work to me, and I'm confident he hired me because he knew he'd be getting a sucker. It wasn't for my interview skills, that was for sure. I didn't complain though, as I got my quiet little corner of the office and was left to get on with things. The problem was, though, that all the social interaction I was hoping for just wasn't happening. I think I'd actually forgotten how to be around people. Does that sound stupid? I mean, Even answering the door to the postman, I'd be doing it in a flailing rush of nervous stupidity, something I have often excelled at. The same cycles remained for the next 7 months. I was just as unhappy as before. My world didn't change until a Tuesday morning in October. I had, as was frequently the case, arrived early to try and finalise our latest campaign. Oh, if you're interested, we were trying to sell an adjustable footstool to make pooping easier. Yes, really. Even weirder was how well they eventually sold, but I digress. I was in my corner, the resident marketing troll, typing away, when I heard an unfamiliar voice in the office. I mean, you really get to know everyone's voice when you spend so much of your time isolated, just eavesdropping on all the office gossip, most of which made me want to stab myself in the face. This voice was just something else. She sounded local, but a little bit more refined. It was soft with just a hint of roughness on certain words. Before I'd even seen her face, I was besotted with this voice. I was really daydreaming about how she'd sound if she sang. Getting my head back to reality was bloody hard. It was so happy in the clouds for a moment or two. But as the voice came nearer, I had to parachute down and pay attention. She was with Andy. He was pontificating to her, as he would do so often with any woman who was pretty, and, oh, hell, was this woman pretty? All my apprehensions about dating just leapt out of our office window in that split second. She had dark hair down to her shoulders, eyes as bright as a spring morning, and the most genuine, easy smile I think I'll ever see in my life. I know it's easy for women to say that it's a load of bull when men say a woman's eyes is the first thing they notice. I mean, our obsession with bosoms and backsides does us no favours, but really the eyes are the first thing you notice. And in this woman I saw nothing but intelligence, kindness, and good humour. As she spoke, I could see the laughter lines in the corners of her eyes, and she exuded this presence that was both hesitant and fragile, but coupled with a streak of irrepressible strength. The contradiction I was witnessing fascinated me. "Dawson!" Andy called out, and I almost leapt out of my chair. Yes, sir." "This," he said with a grin of an ageing lecher, "is Teddy. She's our new employee. Drop everything you're working on and show her the ropes. Get her settled in and bring her onto your latest project." So, at this point, I just want to make clear that we didn't have much time left on the poop deck thing. Getting me to ease in a new worker was not a welcome task, no matter how amazing her aura was. I so desperately wanted to tell Andy to go fuck himself. However, I hadn't really screwed up too badly at this point, and I didn't want to flush anyway any of my new beginnings, so, yeah. "Of course, boss," I replied. Andy squeezed Teddy's arm and dashed off. "Sorry, I know you... This must be a huge inconvenience." That voice made my knees go weak. "No, it's okay. You needn't lie. I'd be pissed in your position." She gave me a soft smile and extended a hand. "Teddy." After a pause, I took her hand and gave it a hearty shake. "Dawson." "Dawson, oh dear, we both have stupid names, don't we?" And that was how our friendship started. Two idiots with stupid names being obliged to spend time together. Thankfully, it ended up being some of the best fun of my life. We found ourselves laughing our asses off more often than not. We were blazing through the work. We'd take turns driving the other into the offices, often taking lunches together, and she even got me out to the pub a few times. I even admired her restraint when I accidentally knocked over my whiskey and splashed it onto her new blouse. Things started to feel so strange. I was actually looking forward to going to work. Hell, I was actually enjoying work. It's a scary thought to you, and bloody terrified me. My health, both mental and physical, was improving. I felt like a new, entirely different person. Any little bump in my life was met without fear. I seemed like a new man. Cliche as it is, I really did. Throughout December, I started psyching myself up. The office party was coming, and I was going to dig deep down to find a bit of courage. I was going to ask Teddy out. Every office usually has mistletoe hanging about everywhere at the Christmas party. Right, I mean, that's what the comedies on TV always had me believe, but at ours, not a single bloody bit of it anywhere. It was really scuppering my plans. I wanted an innocent kiss, and according to my delusions of adequacy, she would then suddenly come to acknowledge the great chemistry between us, and we'd then become locked in a passionate embrace, or something like that. Maybe with the ghost of Pavarotti singing Nessun Dorma at the peak of the moment. Okay, maybe something slightly less insane than that, but, along similar lines. As the night wore on, I started to get sadder and maybe a little too merry. The boss seemed determined to dominate all of Teddy's time, and while she made me feel something magical, in her absence I could feel this void. I spent most of the evening sat on a table by myself, wishing I could find some bravery inside of me. If I couldn't find it for someone as important as this, how was I ever going to find it? Upon realising how pathetic I was, I made it out into the fire escape, using every bloody support I could find on the way out. I sat on the cold concrete and lit a cigarette, hearing police sirens in the distance and the sound of revelry all around me. I flipped the beautiful city the V's. I kissed my bum. I laughed a little to myself, even though it wasn't remotely funny. Under the orange glow of the city lights, I sat there, trying to sober up and trying to think. I gazed up at the moon, almost swallowed by clouds and pollution, and thought of all my dreams. It had always been a symbol of some hope for me, suspended there, an ever-present force exerted on our little planet, controlling the tides, governing people's hearts. I reached up and wanted to touch it. Christ, I really was so very drunk. I took another drag from a cigarette and felt my arse going numb on the concrete. The fire escape door popped open and I made a curmudgeonly growl. Private party, I called out, a clearing of the throat. You sure about that? That voice, oh God, that voice. It was Tetty. Slipping down next to me, she plucked the cigarette from my lips and took a drag. Thought you'd quit, I mumbled. Not going to tell on me, are you? She chuckled. We sat there in the quiet for a bit, and then she piped up. Not seen much of you tonight. Yeah, I know you seem indisposed. I was trying so hard to sound sober. I thought I was doing a decent job, but I probably sounded like the most shit-faced person on the planet. Yeah, sorry about that. Can't really tell the boss to go away though, can you? Especially not Andy. Takes umbrage so easily. She changed the subject. Why are you out here? There was such a kindness in her voice. She sounded so level and mature compared to me. My 10-year head start clearly not having given me what I needed. Well, I coughed. I'm drunk and alcohol always makes me way too chatty. Well, that and horny, but mostly chatty. I slumped over the handrail. And she moved a little closer. That would be a bad thing? Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, just look at how repressed I am. If I just start saying everything that's in here, I'm going to cause so much trouble. I replied, pointing to my head like some complete idiot. Maybe it would be better for you if you did, Tetty asked, putting a consoling arm around me. I don't think so. I'd probably just look really dumb, like telling you how much I love you. I imagine the awkwardness after that. Tetty's arm slid from my back, and she passed the cigarette back. What's wrong? I asked. And then, by some miracle, a tiny piece of my brain actually went back into action. Oh, shit. I banged my head against the handrail. I'm so sorry, Dawson. She took a deep breath. I'm not looking for a boyfriend right now. Now, if you ever wondered what it feels like to be speared through the chest with a harpoon gun whilst a samurai slices open your intestines, then I suggest you experience romantic rejection that you've been stupid enough to build up in your head over a very long period of time. It's unhealthy and entirely your own fault. I only had myself to blame, but her reasoning did help perpetuate a feeling in my own head that I made Quasimodo look like Brad fucking Pitt. I don't even remember Tetty slipping away. I don't even remember how I got home that night. I spent Christmas by myself. When the 5 days of holiday ended, I didn't want to go back to Cooper and Sons. My need of money to pay the rent, however, encouraged me to return. When I did, Tetty was gone, and not on some luxurious holiday or a short break. She had gone, and according to the scuttlebutt, wasn't returning. It was my fault. I should never have opened my mouth. 8 months went by. The first few were spent in a daze where my shitty luck made a comeback. I was able to completely mess up a major contract and teeter precariously on the edge of being fired. When I finally pulled my head out of my arse, it was mostly because I couldn't bear the thought of returning to my parents. I had to snap out of it. I started to shed the reputation of the office hermit, and I tried to use the memories of the good times with Tetty to give me confidence with others. Even though she wouldn't answer my calls or messages, at least my thoughts of her were getting me through the days. Whenever I felt like giving up, of letting myself be washed away, a joke we shared or some stupid laughter raised me up again. Her absence still hurt, but I kept going. I truly began to prosper, until one day I got talking to Jean. Yes, I was finally talking to co-workers. The office gossip, who made the NSA's intelligence gathering system seem amateurish. We were chatting about why Andy had been so insufferable of late. Turns out, she said with a cautious glance over her shoulder, that he and his young lady friend split up a month or two ago. I guess being rich doesn't get you everything. It took me a few moments to add two and two and get four. I tried ringing Tetty again, and again, and again, all to no avail. I just needed to know, had I forced my friend away, or had it been down to whatever had been going on with Andy? I just needed her to talk to me. Almost a fortnight later, I got a text with simple instructions. She was asking me to meet at the giant Ferris wheel, which sat on the waterfront. My stomach lurched. I needed to meet her, but I was terrified. And why the Ferris wheel? I mean, damn it, I hate heights. She bloody knew that. Still, I wasn't going to avoid this. There was a chance to talk, for an answer. I'd have gone even just to see her one more time, to hear that voice say but a single word. 7:30 p.m. I was going to be there at 7. I wouldn't miss this for anything. My bad luck, however, decided to follow, and I find myself in torrential rain as lightning raged through the sky. It's like flood season in the Amazon, but with less poisonous creatures and far more litter. I looked up at that bastard sky and cursed. She wasn't going to come in this. Frankly, I was struggling to rationalise why I had. Then, through the pummeling downpour, I saw a small outline materialise. Clutching an umbrella as though her life depended on it, Tetty approached. And I panicked. Holy shit, did I panic. There was a part of me that wanted to turn on my heel and just run like a little chicken. Lots of factors dissuaded me, even how idiotic I look when I run. Seriously, it will give you nightmares. But most of all was just the way my heart pounded at the mere sight of her. I started to walk towards her, then stopped. What was I going to say precisely? Tumbleweed rolled through my brain. I just looked upwards for inspiration, but none arrived. Tetty was now standing in front of me. I went to speak, and she shushed me. Just listen, okay? I left Andy because of you. I left Cooper and Sons because of Andy. Right? I struggled to hear it through the rain. I just nodded. Now, damn it. She was as scared as I was. You think you're cursed? Lightning shot across the sky. The low roar of thunder followed. Oh, come on! I shouted, my hands already trembling. Tetty was laughing. We both laughed. Then we hugged, letting the rain soak through our clothes. I don't know what this is or where it's going, but it deserves a chance. She kissed me on the cheek. Friend, lover, or something else, I'm not sure. But the thought of another month without you in my life seemed too much. I've missed you so much. I kissed her on the forehead. Wherever the fuck we end up, but let's just do it together. So, what happened then? You sat there hoping for a happy ending. The guy gets the girl gets the guy, and they live happily ever after. I mean, seriously, do you know how rare that is? It's really fucking rare. I don't revel in the prospect of dashing your hopes. I'm not sadistic or anything. Oh, wait, no. Tetty says I am. But she just pinched my arm, so I think she's projecting. So, yes, I'm with Tetty right now. She's just fallen asleep. She can sleep through anything, including the clacking of the keys as I write this on my laptop in bed. Good grief, she snores. Light fittings are rattling. I could smother her with the pillow. No. I think I'll just kiss her goodnight instead. And, for what it's worth, it took 6 months to get here. But I'd have waited 6 years. I'll be honest and admit that, in many ways, I'm still an outsider. But as I'm watching Tetty snore and dribble a little on the pillow, I couldn't give a damn. I'm happy. Deliriously fucking happy.